MiWeek is downtown on Detroit's Riverfront. Plans for new development, plus the economic impact. We'll take you along the DeQuinder Cut and experience the connection with the water that draws us all. I'm Christy McDonald. Join me along with Nolan Finley and Stephen Henderson. MiWeek is coming up.
I have a question. Who wants to go first? To win? Who wants to grow our business? Who wants to make more money? Who wants more job opportunities? If you want Michigan to compete and become a top 10 state, raise your hand. Together, we've turned Michigan around and started moving forward. Now help us build a stronger Michigan than ever. Raise your hand at strongermichigan.com.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, Craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Hi, I'm Christy McDonald, and welcome to MiWeek. This show is all about the Detroit Riverfront. So let's go catch up with our MiWeek contributors, Nolan Finley and Stephen Henderson. So it was a really long time ago that we were down here on the riverfront, and man, how things have changed.
It's gotten a lot bigger. Things have grown in, starting to see apartments and everything back behind, you know, who would have thought?
Yeah, when you think of that, the DeQuinder Cut, the potential for that, if you go to New York, the High Line is sort of a direct parallel to that. And what happened there is that residential and commercial grew up just immediately there. It's taken us longer, but
if you go on down here, there's tons. There's 2,000 or 3,000 apartments right on the river that weren't there. And you know, over the next 5, 6, 7 years, these parking lots all need to go.
They need to fill in.
They need to go. This is too close to downtown to have parking lots on the river.
It's always amazed me when you look at a city like Detroit that we really weren't taking advantage of waterfront real estate, where every other big city in the country was.
Well, it's an industrial city, and so industry grabbed that land first because they needed the shipping access and things, and over time, it just chased people away. I grew up not too far from here, blocks, in fact, from this spot, and we never, ever, ever came down to the river because it wasn't for kids. There was no place to play. There wasn't any water access, and before the Rensen, this was all just old warehouses and stuff.
But the riverfront was supposed to serve as that catalyst to open up the river, and Hart Plaza, the same thing. And we basically abandoned Hart Plaza now, and the Rinstead stood alone here for a long darn time. And we're only now seeing actual development, commercial development on the river that uses the river as a draw, you know, and the views as a draw.
It's really interesting how that all has changed, but I think the economic kind of driver now with the Riverfront Conservancy is able to expand and get so many people on board and finally connect a lot of the dots here along the river.
And that's going to make a huge difference when they can open that West Riverfront Park. That spot is a big dead spot along this sort of bridge-to-bridge idea that they've had for a long time. When that's done, we will have as nice and accessible a riverfront as almost any other city.
It should be a Gold Coast, all from bridge to bridge. It should be a Gold Coast. This should be an extraordinarily desirable place to live. This is where you should be able to get your big tax base out of, you know, sort of those $1 million, $2 million, $3 million residences.
It's a great draw, and there's so many different reasons why people love being down here. And let's go ahead and take a look at some of them.
When I came down here as a kid, there was nothing here but factories and things. And now I come down here and see how beautiful they've made it with the walkway and the benches. You can sit and look at the river, watch the boats go by. It's just fantastic.
The way they did the RiverWalk here, it brings more people into the center of the city. You know what I mean? Before, it was so bad out here, you know what I mean? Only the fishermen would come down there. Now people are bringing their kids down and, you know, all that stuff. People are taking their lunch breaks and coming out here and walking during the day. So, yeah, it's a gorgeous thing. Well, it's about time this shoreline looked as good as that shoreline.
It's like peaceful, like emotionally, you know, just calm. And then I also like that it's so close to like right there, the heart of downtown Detroit. So if you did want to like go have good food. It's over there, meet nice people.
You know, when it was my day, it was, you know, the 80s, and all there was Hart Plaza. Because what I've learned is that, you know, cities compete with one another for people to move there for jobs, and you need to have these things. You need to have parks, you need to have transportation. A new generation is taking over and making some great improvements. So enjoy this great resource.
And so with the weather just being so beautiful, we decided to come out downtown, let the boys play in the sand, walk along the RiverWalk. I love the diversity. I love that it's clean. I love the programming for the kids.
This is just nice. It's something to do. And then with the cafe there, I was really happy about that too. Just because you never know when you need a snack with the kids around.
Now I can brag about my city, and the people come down here and I have a visual representation to go along with the feeling that I have with it.
So look who I found who came biking up to the riverfront, Mark Wallace. He's the CEO of the Riverfront Conservancy. Mark, it's great to see you.
It's great to be here.
You know, we just heard from a lot of people, a lot of various people who come down here who really enjoy the water and everything that's been happening down here for the past couple of years. Does it still amaze you when you see the varied number of people that just love the space?
It's the best part of my job. I mean, if we built this and nobody showed up, we would have done something terribly wrong. And instead, we built this beautiful place where everyone comes together. People feel so proud of the city of Detroit when they come down here, and there's so many memories being made every day here on the Detroit Riverwalk.
What do you think it is?
I think there's something magic about the water. I think there's something about having a huge natural body of something that's bigger than you. I mean, 120 billion gallons of water go through here every single day. It's insane what this means to us on sort of a natural perspective. But I think it's also part of the history we have as an organization. The Detroit Riverfront Conservancy started building this in partnership with the citizens of Detroit. We had over 100 meetings before we put a shovel in the ground here, and we're really a place that is very vocal about being welcoming to every single person from the city, from the region. Everyone's welcome here.
And everyone has a little something to do, something
That's right.
a little different, and the different kind of programs that you have down here too.
That's right. Oh, it's amazing. I mean, you see people teaching their kids how to ride bikes. You see kids looking into the wetland, counting the number of frogs and turtles that they can see. It's just a really special spot.
And an experience for some kids who maybe haven't had the chance to experience outdoors and nature like this before.
Oh, that's right. I mean, there are so many kids living in the city of Detroit whose lives are just permeated with stress. You know, they live in dangerous environments sometimes. Oftentimes their schools are not the best schools. Their families have struggles. Everyone can come to the riverfront and just be relieved of that stress. It kind of comes off of you. I almost get the feeling, looking at the riverfront, similar to what I do when I'm watching a campfire at night. There's something bigger than you, something just releases. And the Riverfront Conservancy has been able to deliver this place to the citizens here.
It's also the great equalizer as well,
That's
you know.
right.
So let's talk a little bit about future plans, and especially the West Riverfront and the project to finally, after a year and getting ideas of what people would like to see, you finally have a plan in place and a really big designer who's going to come in and work on this.
We do. We're really excited to have Michael Van Valkenburg come in to design this space. And his name 100 years from now is going to be as known as Frederick Law Olmsted. I mean, he's going to be one of those legends in our community and around the country. He's partnered with David Adjaye, who is an African-born son of a diplomat who was recently knighted by the Queen of England. I mean, these are folks who are really serious designers and architects. West Riverfront Park is going to blow everyone's mind. I love looking at the pictures. I love talking to people about it. When we finally get it open, it's really going to change a lot of people's lives. And it's a really special space. Van Valkenburg has kind of three big moves. And his first one is, instead of just building right up to the edge of the river, he is proposing to chop off a huge section of the edge of the water. And it's a place where the river used to come before, and build a swimming hole, kind of a beach inside of the site, which would be amazing. That will also be able to be ice skated on in the wintertime, which is pretty amazing as well. So that's kind of step one. Step two is he's partnered with a team out of Denmark who does these really iconic playground areas, things that you can't ever forget. If you're a kid and you see one of these things, it's the place you always want to go back to. So he's going to bring that team in here to build this amazing playground that I think will draw kids from all over Southeast Michigan. And then the third move is David Adjaye is building a gorgeous, really elegant pavilion structure. And that's going to be a spot where you can have basketball games, you can have educational programming, a lot of opportunities for recreation and activity. So it's going to be a really great environment with a lot of interesting things to do.
I think when you hear about a high-class designer like that coming into a space like this in Detroit, but yet still listening to what people really want to see here, and that's really important to make sure that people have input on what they're going to be able to use every day.
That's right. We want this place to be full of people every single day, and that's key. I mean, the success is defined by the citizens who show up. It's not defined by how beautiful it is or how elegant the materials are. how expensive it is. None of that matters. That's just kind of getting the job done. But when people come, people start to make memories on West Riverfront Park. It's really going to be impactful for our community.
Okay, but when you talk about how much it will cost to do something like this, talk to us a little bit about the price tag, the fundraising, and then timeline.
These are major projects, and they require the support of a lot of people. And luckily here at the Conservancy, we have been blessed by great partners. General Motors, as the folks who built the first portion of the RiverWalk, Christy coming in with their $15 million challenge grant, and then the City of Detroit relocating the cement silos that used to be right where we're standing here. We have continued to get support from people all over Southeast Michigan. The government's been very supportive. The State DNR Trust Fund has been very supportive of us. But we have to saddle up for another process to raise the money to finish this project. That park is envisioned as about a $50 million project, and we think with that type of investment we can really have a profound impact. Right now we have 3 million people a year come down to the riverfront. Maybe we increase that by 1 million or 2 as we start to add on to West Riverfront Park.
Okay, and so timeline, what are we thinking in terms of timing?
So we're going back with the community. We've started this design process by listening to the community, and we're back in front of the community saying, hey, these are the ideas that the folks in New York came up with. Come back to Detroit and let's see if this is exactly what we want. How do we tweak this? How do we make it exactly what we need? So that process will continue throughout the end of this year and next year. We're hoping to be in the ground in 2020 and opening up for business in 2022.
It's going to be exciting to see how it all unfolds.
It's very, these are once in a lifetime opportunities. Most places don't have any space left over for parks. Most cities have, building. It's all full of use. We really have an opportunity to do something different here in Detroit.
You know, the RiverWalk is not just right here along this stretch. Also, you're a big bike rider. So I know that you've been on a DeQuinder cut a number of times that offshoots from here too.
No, it's amazing. And for us, the system is what makes us powerful. We have 3.5 miles of RiverWalk, but we have a 2-mile DeQuinder cut. We're about to do another 2-mile Joseph Campo Greenway as well. So that system becomes really powerful and really valuable.
All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the DeQuinder cut.
We're on the DeQuinder cut right now. It's a former railway trail. It used to be overgrown pathways that nobody could go down, and now it's a really great space for runners and walkers. It starts at Atwater Street and it goes all the way to Eastern Market. This has all been done through the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy that oversees the 5.5 miles along the riverfront and also this green pathway up and down the DeQuinder cut. We realized that the connectability of neighborhoods was really important. So this is a safe way to get down to the beautiful spaces along the riverfront without crossing a major road, without being on the same road as cars and traffic. But the Conservancy itself exists as a nonprofit, and everything that we do is to benefit the citizens of Detroit. I think it's surprising. I think a lot of people didn't expect anyone to be down here. I mean, this is a place where people were sleeping under bridges, where the brush was so out of control you could barely walk down it. Most recently, we did a cleanup of the cut and we picked up 100 bags of trash. Like, the turnout from the community was huge. And even right now, we're out here on a weekday and you see people using the cut. We just saw a bunch of dogs walk by. We saw people running. We see people on bikes. This is our current project, the DeQuinder Cut Freight Yard. The turnout has been amazing. Bursts of people coming down to check out the food trucks and the entertainment, the pop-ups from Build Institute.
Our role was always to program the outdoor vending component of the freight yard site. You'll see that there are 4 pavilions on site. So they're kind of like really big metal canopies, and then we have 2 vendors per pavilion, and then we also have some spillover area called the market area with vendors with tents. So it's kind of just activating that space as a pop-up marketplace. We really didn't know what to expect. We were kind of doing it for the first time, and there wasn't too much we could look to as a reference. We're in Eastern Market, so there's already a ton of traffic there. This year we're having vending on Saturdays and Sundays from 11 to 3.
It's a good opportunity for them to figure out what their voice is and what works for them. We'll have live music, we'll have events down here. It's a great walkover from Eastern Market to add to your Saturday or Sunday. Working with a lot of different people made it interesting. It gave us the opportunity to say, this isn't entirely what we envisioned out the gate, but once we brought other voices in, once we brought other partners in, this is what came out of it. And while there might have been struggles throughout to understand how we brought everyone's ideas together in a cohesive way, this was really an effort of a bunch of dedicated people wanting to do something cool for the community.
We're out here on the Detroit Riverwalk with Matt Cullen with Rock Ventures, formerly of General Motors. And Matt, you were with GM in 2002 when you started, and you and a group of people started envisioning a Riverwalk, a park along the Detroit River. Is this what you thought it would look like back then?
You know what, I don't think we ever hoped to be something this great, so it's good to be here with you guys. I mean, we bought the Renaissance Center in 1996, we being General Motors, and we looked out here and there was kind of bombed out buildings, and you literally couldn't walk from the Renaissance Center to the river because there's 3 lanes of roads, right. Abandoned cars. You look across at Windsor, you think about Chicago, you thought, why couldn't we have something like that? The cement silos were over here, but a group of us came together, and initially the Kresge Foundation and the city and General Motors, and we said, let's start it. And then we ultimately put together a vision that was bridge to bridge, 5.5 miles, and we're well on our way. It's really exciting for us.
Yeah, catch us up on where we are exactly in that plan. We're here. It seems like most of it is almost done.
Well, a lot of it is. We are sort of from Joe Louis to Gabe Richard Park to Belle Isle was our first phase. We are well underway with that. I mean, I'd say probably 80% complete. A couple of really cool pieces are being built right now as we speak. Atwater Beach, kind of just over by Shane Park, just past that. There's going to be a great beach and playscape area for kids. Food barge and the ability to be out and have a cocktail right on the river and watch it go by. That'll be done this time next year. And then Uniroyal, that site that has been abandoned forever, just this side of Belle Isle. We're starting construction on the Riverwalk portion of that this year. Will be done next year, and so we're really excited about that. And then concurrently, we're turning our attention to the west, and we have the opportunity now to go on the water side of the riverfront apartments to make that connectivity. And then we're in the midst of a design process for a spectacular West Riverfront park. So we're pulling it all together.
Matt, the intent here was to be more than just a park. This was to be an economic engine, a development magnet, if you will, for the area all behind the Riverwalk, all behind the park. Some of that got derailed, a lot of that got derailed when the Great Recession hit. Are we starting to see now this become an attractor of economic development along Jefferson or south of Jefferson?
Absolutely. I mean, we wanted to be a place where people came together, and it's become that. I mean, very inclusive, 3 million visitors, tremendous activity, but we wanted to be an engine for economic development as well. In our first 13 years, we're approaching $1.5 billion worth of economic impact, and the pace is just quickening. There's tremendous initiatives that are currently being contemplated. Harbortown just built a new tower. McCormick Barony just built a new residential development. There's a number of other ones that are being planned, so I'd expect to see thousands of residential units and restaurants and that kind of thing for the Renaissance Center going east over the next few years, and then of course, as I said, we'll turn our attention west. So it's going to be all those things that we had hoped, I think.
Yeah, and that's a huge change for a city that didn't think of the waterfront as an asset for so long. But the other thing that you guys do down here is you bring people here, and it's not just with sort of the everyday visits to the park. You have a lot of events that go on.
We have all kinds of events, but it is every day. I mean, here's a Tuesday afternoon, and it's always vibrant. By lunch, it'll be packed. We have a lot of things, but we have 50,000 people down here for walks and runs during the course of a year. We have yoga and gloga and you know, all kinds of different things taking place you know, around the clock down here. Music, of course. General Motors does Rocket on the Riverfront. Lots of other activities, but there's something kind of for everybody. We've got everything from a butterfly garden to a classic rock concert during the course of a week. So there's a lot going on.
And that public access is part of the point, right? The idea that this was developed by philanthropic dollars does not mean it's not a public
Well, that's a great point. I mean, it's always been, bring everybody. We want it to be open for everyone, and we have raised the money philanthropically. I mean, the Conservancy is the steward, and we were responsible for creating the space and also maintaining it. We've raised about $175 million so far to do that, which I think we're all really proud of. And we have more work to do in that regard as we go to build out the West. But it's for the public, and that has been really from the very beginning, was create this perpetual public access to our greatest natural asset that we have in the city.
What do you expect to see on Hart Plaza? It's been long neglected. Is the Riverfront Conservancy going to absorb that at some point?
I think we'll look to partner with the city on that. I know the mayor and Maurice Cox and others have a lot of ideas around that. I mean, from a Riverfront Conservancy standpoint, we're kind of focused on finishing the east and building out the west. But clearly Hart Plaza is the most important link to that. I mean, it's sort of, you know, main and main with Woodward and the waterfront. And so I think we're all going to work hard to figure out what's next for there because it's tired, it needs a lot of help.
How cool would it be to see an aquarium down here?
Well, I mean, Ron Kagan and the folks at the zoo are really excited about the idea. And look, I mean, the way things are going in the city, to have an amenity like that somewhere along the waterfront would be really exciting. So, you know, we're obviously working with Ron and staying tuned on that front.
Yeah. What's the one thing that government, local, state, could do to make this better or easier for the Conservancy? You
know, as we kind of go into the next phase of the Conservancy, Stephen, we are talking to the city and to the county. I mean, we did this philanthropically. When we started, it was intended to be with city support, and the Conservancy would augment it. But that was sort of back in the bad old days, right? And General Motors went bankrupt, and Chrysler went bankrupt, and the city went bankrupt. We kept persevering. But as we come out of this, it is a public park, and we do need some support from the city and from the county. And the state has been very supportive. We got the spectacular Milliken State Park. They've helped us on a number of other ways. But we're having conversations with the city and county about, hey, what kind of infrastructure support could you provide and other things. I mean, we clearly are going to be here as a Conservancy with an endowment to help take care of it, but we need, we'll need those folks involved as well.
Okay, Matt Cullen, thanks for being here.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thanks,
Back
Matt.
to you, Christy.
There's a lot of great resources for families and kids here along the river, including the DNR Center. Take a look.
People were kind of skeptical, like, why would you want to go inside to learn about the outside? But in fact, lots of people want to learn, and lots of people are excited. And you come in our front door and you see our 38-foot oak tree, and you go, wow. And you can climb inside that, and you can climb around it. We also have a mine cave and a bear cave, fishing boat with a fishing experience where you hold a real rod and fish to a screen. Our Eagle's Nest view of Detroit attractions and Upper Peninsula attractions. You'll see even today we have every single age out there, every single ethnicity from as far away as Ohio, people that come from right within the city, and people who come from every direction of the suburbs. Our first year we are slated to average about 200 folks a day. We were averaging 410. Our second year we were up to almost 500, and this year we're planning to top 600 a day. If you're a screen kid or a young parent who's been on screens their whole life, you haven't gone out, so how would you go? No one took you fishing or hiking, why would you take your family? We had people who've never kayaked, who now go to Belle Isle to kayak because they got the bug here. So the city and up north, they meet right here in every way possible.
So I think it's really neat, the DNR Center. I mean, you're bringing in kids who haven't had a chance really to experience nature in this kind of setting before. Yeah.
No, I mean, exposure to the river, which really was sort of the foundation of Detroit. This is why Detroit is here. And you don't understand that if you're, up 4 or 5 blocks, a mile or 2 away. And, until this park came, there wasn't much access.
Yeah. What I love about it is it's not just a look place, it's a do place. You can take your kids there, they can climb on stuff and touch things.
Get them tired, right?
Yeah, no, it's a pretty cool, idea, right?
Yeah. So you guys keep saying we should get on the carousel, we should get on the carousel. Are you going to ride on one of these?
I'm going to hop the fence because it's not open. So.
I think we can make it.
I know, this is really good.
I want the swan.
You want the swan?
I like the frog. That was always my favorite.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really great to be able to sit here and you look down and you see the bridge. And we were talking about Bob Lowe and memories of that.
They still have the sign down there on the warehouse.
And see the development and the way it's changed and everything is really, it's really something to watch over what you think this could be in the next 10 years.
This is a slow comeback for the city, but it's a steady comeback. And you look out 20 years and you see stores and apartments and restaurants and bars along this river, and you think, it could really transform Detroit, return it to what it once was.
And that's going to do it for MiWeek. For more on the Riverfront Conservancy, you can just head to our website at myweek.org. I'm Christy McDonald. We will see you next time. Take care.